Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm hearing a lot from Nebraskans about the chaos this week that is going on around here as we debate the legislation to continue funding our government. We should be debating the reckless big government spending that has left us with a national debt of $33 trillion. That's $251,000 for every American household. That's about the average price of a house in Nebraska. It's like having another mortgage in national debt. The consequences of this crippling debt means that consumers see higher costs and interest rates. It slows the economy, and it stifles opportunities for American families. With stubbornly high inflation, families across this nation, including those on fixed incomes, are tightening their belts to stretch their budgets farther. This past week, I've heard from many angry Nebraskans that the Congress refuses to do the same. We need to fund our national defense to secure our national security, and that includes closing our open border. We need to provide essential government services that Americans expect and deserve. What we don't need is to throw more money at partisan projects or wasteful and unnecessary government spending. The time to have these important conversations about how we do all that is right now as we discuss these funding bills. Now, there is a process to do that without coming to the brink of a government shutdown. It starts with the President giving us his budget by February 6th. However, this year, President Biden gave us his budget over a month late. Then, Congress must pass 12 appropriations bills by September 30th to avoid a government shutdown. The Senate Appropriations Committee passed 2 appropriations bills on June 22nd and the other 10 in July. That means for nearly 2 months, the majority leader could have brought up these bills to the Senate floor. We could have had the votes right here on them. We could have debated them. We could have amended them. Ultimately, we could have passed final versions of them. However, the majority leader chose not to do that. Instead, he's played games and created the shutdown face-off. He has squeezed the calendar to force his and President Biden's plan to spend trillions of dollars we don't have. For example, this week, senators were given only 40 minutes, just 40 minutes, to read and analyze a 79-page bill to continue the funding of government. Unlike Nancy Pelosi, I'm not going to vote to pass something so I can find out what's in it. Nebraskans deserve better. Americans deserve better. The bill the Senate is now considering ultimately does nothing to address President Biden's wasteful and unnecessary spending. It does nothing to secure our borders, which is being overrun by cartels trafficking migrants and drugs, dangerous drugs like fentanyl that is killing Americans every day. We should have an open government and a closed border. The bill we are considering right now keeps federal government spending at its inflated post-pandemic levels. The federal government spending is up 40% in just the last 4 years. 40% in just 4 years. That's unacceptable. The majority leader is forcing a vote with a false choice between a bloated and wasteful omnibus bill or a government shutdown. It's manipulative, it's wrong, and I won't stand for it. We cannot keep giving President Biden and the Majority Leader a blank check to spend American taxpayer dollars however they want. A broken process will always result in a broken product. We have to do better. During my time as governor, we kept the size and scope of government small. It wasn't always easy. Sometimes required tough conversations, but our state was better off for it. We ran government more like a business. We improved the level of services for families in need. We invested in infrastructure, like roads and broadband. And we were able to deliver $12.7 billion in tax cuts. In Nebraska, we kept the growth of government to just 2.8% a year. And again, contrast that to the 40% government spending is up at the federal level in just 4 years. 40% in just 4 years. Now, here's the crazy part. President Biden is actually going to declare some federal employees non-essential. If there's a shutdown, he's going to send them home. And then he's going to bring them back and pay them back pay. Now, if they're essential workers, they should continue to stay at their jobs during the shutdown. And if they're unessential, why do we have them? Our federal government must be more effective and efficient, not bigger and worse. In Nebraska, we proved it's possible. Bringing that success to Washington is one of the reasons why I want to be a senator. I will continue fighting to get our fiscal house in order, to make sure we continue to provide essential services that Americans deserve and expect. My colleagues and I will continue to have serious conversations about how to do that. I hope President Biden and the Majority Leader will do the same. Thank you very much, Mr. President.